How's it going, everyone? Sunday, March 15th will be the 98th Academy Awards. And with me, I have returning guest Chris Tsang. And joining me for the very first time, my buddy of the Lone Screenplay podcast. I've done his podcast twice, and I just had to bring him on for this final prediction segment, Matthew Anderson.
Rise and shine.
Rise and shine at 7:39 at night. So.
Yes. Yes. Hey, who knows? Some of your audiences might be waking up for a late shift. You never know. So yeah.
You never know. And Chris, welcome back.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you're in Central Time, so I think most I think I would venture to say maybe at least 50% of whoever watches or listens to this is probably on the East Coast. So yeah, it's going to be later for us.
Absolutely. So we are here to give our final predictions in almost all the Oscar categories. We're gonna skip the shorts because really I can't really give any good commentary about those because I almost never watch the shorts. So, but we're gonna go through the other 21 categories, and some of them will be easy. Some of them we'll definitely have more of a discussion with. But we're gonna start off with the brand new category, best casting. We have Sinners, One Battle After Another, Mario Supreme, Secret Agent, and Hamnet. Matthew, what do you have for this category?
Well, earlier in the season, I thought maybe this is where Secret Agent could pull off some, win down the road. But honestly, with how the weeks have been leading up to the Oscar, weekend and such, and with the SAG win for Sinners, and it's already won the Critics' Choice, and I think Casting Society. I will say, even though I am predicting Sinners right now, this is going to be a really interesting category going forward because for a lot of reasons, we don't know if we're just going to have to rely on just SAG as like what wins the casting prize for the Oscar, or if it's going to be more than that. I mean, like I said, I'll predict Sinners. We'll see what happens. Francine Maisler, I believe, is like a known casting director. She's been around for quite a while. I think she casted 12 Years a Slave, a Best Picture winner. So, yeah, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, right now my vote is for my prediction, I should say, is for Sinners.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think 90% of this discussion is going to center around Sinners versus One Battle After Another and how many categories they're going to win. I do not have faith that this category will deliver a surprise, especially in its inauguration. Is that the right word? I don't know. But like, I think for many Oscar voters, they're, especially with this new category, they're gonna definitely play it safe. And definitely correlate it with like either a Best Picture winner or a top Best Picture nominee. And they're definitely going to correlate it, as many of us surmised from the beginning when this was announced. They're probably going to correlate it a lot with the SAG Ensemble Prize, at least for the first couple of years. Like as much as I want Secret Agent to win, I don't think the Academy is that edgy. They're gonna give a few years of expected winners before they pivot to something more edgier or just a basic international film in general. It's like it's like the director category. They'll probably nominate one international film, but as far as giving it the win, that's gonna take longer.
That's a really interesting observation. Yeah, with the correlation with like how director is, like casting director going forward, they might just go with the one international contender. Yeah, good point, Chris. I didn't even realize that, honestly.
Yeah, no disagreements. I think this is Sinners. I don't think it's entirely impossible for One Battle After Another win this, but that's really the only one I would kind of give a sliver of a chance to. But yeah, my thinking right now is just that like this category is kind of going to be very correlated with, the actual cast, like as you guys said, SAG Ensemble. And SAG Ensemble did go to Sinners. And so, yeah, I think that this will be. I should say, like, I'm 90% sure that Sinners is going to be winning this one. Okay, moving on to this will be an interesting one. International film. Um, the the nominees are It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Surat, and The Voice of Hein Rahab.
In Rajab, I think.
Him or Drop. Sorry, I mispronounced that. Uh, Chris.
Look, I know everyone's going to default to sentimental value for, obvious reasons. It has the most nominations, which probably like just gives it the win period. It won BAFTA. Surprisingly, it was the only thing it won. Um, but I'm not I'll probably default to it in the coming days, but I just can't get past why it didn't perform better at BAFTA. It really should. That was the perfect place for it to uh succeed in wins in like various categories. As far as because at the beginning of the season, I think we all thought it would have more wins than we are predicting for it now. And my thinking is Secret Agent was never going to win BAFTA because it's not European. And it's not a huge juggernaut like Parasite or Roma. But also, like, usually when it comes to international features, especially in the last couple years, um, you know, amidst some like very very highly publicized controversy. Usually, not only does the international feature winner correlate with a Best Picture nomination, but it also picks up some extra wins in other categories, such as Zone of Interest, not Drive My Car, but like Zone of Interest, Parasite, Roma,
All Quiet on the Western Front.
Quiet, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but for this category, I think most of us, whoever wins this, will probably be their only win, very likely for the night. So, but if you just go by basic stats, it'll probably be sentimental value. But I think this is closer than most people think. I don't think it's not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. Especially since sentimental value did not perform very poorly at BAFTA.
Matthew.
Um, yeah, I somewhat agree with you, Chris. It's definitely a tight race between the two of them. It's going to be either Secret Agent or Sentimental Value. Accident's not going to do it because it only got in for screenplay. Voice of Hinder Job's the only nomination that film got, and then the other one was Surat, which only got in for sound. So it really is just going to be between the two of them. I almost wonder though if sentimental value. Yes, you are right though that Chris, you are right that BAFTA is very much they go for more European picks, but I almost wonder the fact that all 5 nominees from international film made it at BAFTA and sentimental value still, again, I know they have like they love their European films, but it's still won over Secret Agent. And Sentimental Value does, as you mentioned, it does have the most nominations. I'm pretty sure it also has like the most acting nominations for an international feature film contender of all time with 4. I could be wrong, but I mean, it got the editing nomination as well. And director as well and screenplay. So I do think it is sentimental value at the end of the day. I will say, and I've been warning about Jack about this. I don't know if Chris, if he told you about this either. If either Secret Agent or Sentimental Value go home with nothing on the night of, either one of them could become the first international film nominee, also nominated in picture, to go home with nothing. The closest you would have to go for something like this was The Immigrants, which they had the international film nomination the year before, and then they got in for picture the next year when we had The Godfather year and Cabaret. But that went home with nothing. So this would like either one of these would technically be like our first non-English language nominee that's also a picture that goes on with nothing. But yeah, but at the end of the day, my pick is going to be sentimental value. But we'll see if Secret Agent pulls this out. You never know.
Yeah, I just don't think they're gutsy enough to go for the Secret Agent,
Okay.
especially since it lost an industry precursor and it doesn't it's the more riskier one since it only has 4 nominations against Sentimental Values 9. So it's like they're not gonna. I don't believe that they will go the unsafe route
You
with.
don't think they'll be cool?
You know,
Okay.
never thought they were cool for like a long while.
I like Chris. I like where his thinking's going. I like that.
Well,
Me too.
brace yourself. There's much more coming.
Okay. All right. I can't wait.
I mean, I made jokingly made the comparison, even though Chris does not know this character. That Chris is like he kind of reminds me a little bit of Jebediah Atkinson, which was this Taron Killam character that he played on SNL, where he was just hating on everything, or just like oh like
Nice.
this garbage, you know. Okay, so I
Yeah.
agree that this is not an easy call to make. I'm going with sentimental value, just because not just because it won the one major industry precursor for this category. I mean, sentimental value has won more international film awards total this season,
Yeah.
but sentimental value did win the only industry precursor. But also, sentimental value overperformed in a way because none of us. No, at least I know not the both of you. None of us had Elle Fanning getting in.
I almost
Um,
had her in if it weren't for SAG, those bastards. It was like this close to putting her in. Then SAG said, nope, we're not doing it. I'm like, damn it. And then
yeah,
she got in. I'm like, oh, I hate you, SAG. Anyways, go on.
yeah. No, she got in. She got in. It got in for editing. And Secret Agent. If the casting category didn't exist, it did exactly what I'm Still Here did last year, where it
Yep.
got Best Picture, the lead performance got in, and it got an international film. And so, if Secret Agent had done better than I'm Still Here and got into screenplay or director, then I think I would kind of sense that the passion was going that way. But because Seminole Value did better, it overperformed expectations, and Secret Agent just did what I'm Still Here did last year. That's making me think that this will be the one place that Cinemal Value will win. But I will also mention the last time that a country went back to back international film was 1987 and 1988 when Denmark won back to back. And so, yes, Brazil is very passionate, and there's a big Brazilian voting bloc in the academy. So I would not be shocked. I would say this is probably I'm like either 60-40 or 55-45, leaning sentimental value, and I will stick with it. But that's just my thinking with that. It's a close call, but I think that sentimental value will just eke this one out.
I also will. I try not to equate how many nominations each film got because I think anyone with comment with early in the season always knew Sentimental Value was going to get more nominations than The Secret Agent, just
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
based on
Oh yeah,
actor, the
definitely.
European appeal with director. So I try not to equate like their nomination tally as too much of a factor. Versus, I just really my big concern is just strictly with BAFTA. Like, had Sentimental Value went home empty-handed at BAFTA, of course, no one's would be predicting it for international feature, but
Yeah.
just barely scraped off by probably by the skin of its teeth. So it's just I'm still like wrapping my head around it, but like maybe I'd rather be right for the wrong. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised than like expectedly then take a risk and expectedly like be wrong.
I will say one other thing about this category, and I think it's going to be a trend for the whole night going forward, except for one thing. I almost wonder because we have so many Best Picture nominees being campaigned by the same studio. So like Neon has Sentimental Value and Secret Agent, and then Focus is Begonia and Hamnet. I almost wonder if that's going to hurt some of these other films that they're trying to campaign for awards, whereas like one of them will get something and the other one will go home with nothing. Except for one studio, of course, which will probably win pretty big on the night. And we'll talk about those categories. But I also wonder if that might affect these, like something like Secret Agent winning something. I mean, I don't know. Just something I just realized as we've been talking.
Moving on now to a documentary feature. The nominees are The Alabama Solution, Come See Me in the Good Light, Cutting Through Rocks, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and The Perfect Neighbor. Matthew?
I am gonna go with The Perfect Neighbor. I think it's a very weak front runner. Yes, it lost the BAFTA to Mr. Nobody against Putin, but you'd have to go back to, I believe, Free Solo, which just won the BAFTA only, and that's it. At least with The Perfect Neighbor, it managed to get the Editors Guild for documentary. It got the Critics' Choice documentary feature, which it also beat the curse of winning that category and becoming the front runner. It still got into the field, so it's like, all right, it got in. All right, maybe you could do it. And I think it also got the Spirit Award, which it's not an industry precursor, but American Factory also got it too, and something else did. But yeah, and then I'm also realizing too, as we were talking, that it managed to get the Critics' Choice Award nomination for Best Editing at the main feature categories, which might be a bit of a sign, much like how Summer of Soul got that BAFTA nomination for editing years ago. And I mean, that was a much stronger film overall with precursors, but I don't know. I do think that The Perfect Neighbor is probably going to win. Netflix knows what they're doing with their campaigning strategies. They've been able to win a couple times. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Perfect Neighbor.
Chris?
I'm also going Perfect Neighbor. I always think of this as with last year when what's that thing? No Other Land
Yeah.
won nothing,
Northern.
and they still like went with it because it was the more very captured the mainstream political zeitgeist and the relevancy of it all. I think Perfect Neighbor does that better than Putin because I think that documentary is shit. But like I and
Tell us
but
how you really feel.
yeah, Russian propaganda. Like everyone in the academy is going to vote for that. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I have no reason not to predict Perfect Neighbor. Like it lost PGA to I think a non-nominee. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I forgot who won PGA, but like, and I think BAFTAs. I don't know. They don't. They kind of again same with last year with No Other Land. They don't go for like the real. They don't go for real in your face documentaries that center around very specific American political issues. Um, and BAFTAs also has a history of race of just surface level racism and Perfect Neighbor. I can't imagine them watching Perfect Neighbor and you know connecting to it as much as as the American voters would. But yeah, I'm not losing any like a lot of these categories. I'm not losing any like sleep over. I think it's going to be Perfect Neighbor.
Oh man.
Yeah, after talking with my friend Jeffrey Kerr, I was, persuaded, briefly to Mr. Nobody against Putin, especially since, Russian themed documentaries have been winning this category in the past couple of years, Navalny and 20 Days in Mariupol. But yeah, no, you guys do make a very compelling case for a Perfect Neighbor. This is one that and also I should point out that, documentary doesn't really give us a lot of surprises. Like the ones that are the odds-on favorite, tend to be the ones that win. Like, I don't think like, since I've been watching the Oscars, has there been like a real surprise in documentary. I think maybe 2017. I remember a lot of people have Faces Places winning, but Icarus ended up winning, and that was one of the few I got wrong that night. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I have Mr. Nobody against Putin for now, but I could switch back to Perfect Neighbor by the time we get to Oscar night.
Do we know if Icarus was by Netflix?
Yes.
It was okay.
Okay. Just something to think about. That's all.
Okay. Now moving on to animated feature. The nominees are Arco, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelia in the character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. Can we all just say the obvious?
Zootopia 2. No, I'm kidding. It's K-pop Demon Hunter. Yeah, we can move on. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, sequels don't do well in this category, even though it won BAFTA. I mean, Jeffrey Carey actually kind of mentioned to me that that's kind of a makeup win,
Yep.
in a way, because the first Zootopia lost to Kubo and the Two Strings at BAFTA. But yeah, Chris, anything to add? Nope,
It's like
nope.
move along, move along.
We'll move along. Okay. This is also, I think, a very easy category that we're going to talk like just, a tenth of a second about. Best visual effects: Avatar: Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World: Rebirth, The Lost Bus, Sinners.
I'll say this. I'm predicting Avatar, obviously, but I'll say this. If Sinners wins this category, there are certain categories that a lot of people, a lot of prognosticators are looking out because they all have this assumption that like, oh, Sinners is going to surprise in some tech category. Which one will it be? And I'm like, based on what?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yep.
But if Sinners win, there are certain categories such as supporting actor, various texts, where including this, where if Sinners does win, I'll be like, okay, now I think it could has a shot in Best Picture. But I'll save more of that for later. But yeah, it's Avatar.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. I
Yeah,
applaud you.
it's Avatar.
Yeah.
Okay. Best sound. The nominees are F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, Seurat. Chris, what do you think?
Again, another category where people might think Sinners is a surprise, and which again, all these statements, as much as I'm shitting on them, I do think there's like validity to it. That like
Mhm.
it should be discussed, maybe for like a few seconds. But I, F1 didn't get a Best Picture nomination for nothing. So like if F1 goes home empty-handed without winning sound or visual effects or whatever the other category is. If it goes home with nothing, that would just make its Best Picture nomination just personally to me very annoying. So I think based on the support it has, um, it's late breaking support, I should add. I think it's fine. Again, like this is not a I this is not like a tough category in terms of like the actual sound of it all. Like it's Cars. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna win.
Matthew?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with F1. I mean, it won the Cinema Audience Society Association Motion Picture Sound, and BAFTA, which is plenty to call it a lock. Pretty much any film that has won those, including stuff like Dune Part One, Gravity. There was another film that won that too. I remember Bohemian Rhapsody was another one that did that, and it won the Oscar. Um, I'm blanking on it, but anyways, but yeah, usually if a film that wins that combo, they usually win the Oscar. Oh, Sound of Metal was the other one. They won the Oscar. I mean, granted, those films also won editing too, but we'll talk about editing in a moment. But yeah, I do think Sinners is the runner up. I actually thought for the longest time that Sinners might do it, but I did notice though that as we got through Oscar nominations and even after nominations were announced, I just thought to myself, unless a movie like Zone of Interest or Sound of Metal, now that the categories are combined, it seems like the category is going to go to either two films. One, you're a film where you're campaigning how the sound is used to tell the story, like Zone of Interest was, and Sound of Metal. Or you're just, as Chris said, you're just going to go with the loud movies, the vroom vroom, populist picks like the Dune films and Top Gun Maverick. So yeah, I think this is going to be F1's Oscar. But if you want to predict an upset anywhere, I guess Sinners would be the more likelier one. But I do think it is F1.
At least Zone of Interest won BAFTA. That's
Yeah,
how.
and not only did it win BAFTA, but it won the AMPS award, which I told people when that won it, I thought, guys, like we may have to consider this as an Oscar sneak. I didn't have the balls to predict it back then, but I'm like, damn it, that was a sign that it was probably going to win the Oscar. So.
Yes, I think F1's going to win this as well. And I think that, like Joseph, because he's last major Oscar contender, Top Gun Maverick, this will be the lone lone tech win for the film, which means Matthew, you're gonna likely have to cover this in a few years. Who's gonna take that up? I have no. Who knows? Maybe Chris will
No.
want to cover this.
No,
No,
no.
just kidding.
I already
Just
got
kidding.
someone
Just
on.
kidding.
No. Don't worry, Chris. I'm going to save you
Just
the
kidding.
embarrassment. You're good. You're safe. I already got someone on. I've actually contacted someone to do it, and we're going to try to do it. If F1 wins just sound, we'll cover it over the summer. But yeah.
I'm not gonna. I'll mention this off the record, but like, and Jack knows what I'll say. But in terms of F1, it stands in terms of my personal rankings, it stands a very special place with me that I won't mention on here. But like, yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
man. Nice.
We'll leave it at that.
Yep.
Okay. Next, original song. The nominees are "Dear Me" from Diane Warren, "Relentless," "Golden" from K-pop Demon Hunters, "I Lied to You" from Sinners, "Sweet Dreams of Joy" from Viva Verda, and "Train Dreams" from Train Dreams. Matthew, what do you think?
Golden won the Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, Hollywood Music and Media Award, Society Composer Lyricist. I should also point out, too, I used to work at a grocery store in the deli area, and I heard that song at least once a week from my time from October to end of February. And I kept hearing that song on the radio like at least once a week. And I just thought to myself, with the popularity of this being in a grocery store where people are shopping, their grandparents, little kids are, running around the aisles and such. And it's on SNL where they did a whole sketch for it with Bad Bunny, I think. I'm like, this is over. This is done. Everyone go home. Yeah, sorry, Diane Warren, you're not getting your Oscar. Boo-hoo, sorry. Not your year. So.
Chris?
Every year is not Diane Warren's year.
Thank you.
So get her the.
It should have been for. It should have been for "I Don't Want to Miss a Thing," but that's maybe because I'm just saying that because I'm the biggest Aerosmith fan in the world. Not the Oscar would have gone to Aerosmith, but just saying.
Yeah, but seriously, all due respect, get her the fuck out of this category. Like, I really feel bad for those other nominees, knowing that there's like only four actual slots for.
Yeah.
Like, she gets in for like the most obscure nothing no one has ever heard of.
Yeah.
That was even eligible or in contention movie that I don't know what she has over that brand.
Preach, brother, preach.
Listen, I'm sick. As good of a song Golden is, I'm already sick of hearing that song because I've heard it like 100 times. Not even involuntarily. That I already braced myself for hearing it another 100 times until Sunday and probably like afterwards. So yeah, it's gonna be that. It's probably gonna open the show. Who knows? So
it's the shallow of the decade.
I didn't think about that. Like
that's actually a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, like when Justin Timberlake opened the Oscars in early 2017 with "Can't Stop the Feeling" from Trolls.
Yeah.
Which honestly, that was cool. That that was actually that was a cool opener. To be honest with you.
I thought it was a pretty good way to open the show.
Yeah, and so was Queen with "We Will Rock You" and "We Are Champions," but I won't get into that. Sorry, Matthew.
No comment.
Anyways, original score. The nominees are "Begonia," "Frankenstein," "Hamnet," "One Battle After Another," "Sinners." I think this is one that we can all just say is game, set, match.
Yeah. Yeah, it won everything it needed to. Even if it didn't sweep the precursors, the idea, we've already had at least 4 films that won the BAFTA and Society Composer Lyricist: Brutalist, Joker, Soul, Oppenheimer. And even if some of them, I think the Brutalist didn't sweep last year. I know that for a fact. But the fact that it still got BAFTA and the Society Composer Lyricist, like that's a pretty deadly combo to be like, sorry guys, that's game over for everyone else. But yeah, congratulations, Ludwig Göransson. You're going to win your 3rd Oscar.
And it's going to be another Oscar-winning soundtrack in the repertoire of the company that I work for, BMI.
Yeah.
So, Chris, any disagreements? Nope. He's just shaking his head. All right. Let's move on. Okay. I think is another fairly easy category. The nominees is production design. Nominees are Frankenstein, Hamnet, Mario Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners. Frankenstein, call it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Makeup and hairstyling. The nominees are Frankenstein. How to say this? Cuckoo. Sorry,
Kakuo.
sorry. Kokuo. Sorry about that. I just
You're
don't
good.
know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Kokuo. Okay. Sinners, The Smash Machine, The Ugly Stepsister. This is probably another easy win for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for the work done on Jacob Elordi.
Yeah.
Um, Film editing. Okay, this will make a very interesting discussion. Nominees are F1, Mario Supreme, One Bell After Another, Sentimental Value, Sinners. Um, Chris, why don't you take this one first?
I mean, again, this is another category where if one battle loses, then I'll be concerned because it has no reason to. F1 had its chance at BAFTA, but couldn't do it. Unless unless they really that the Academy really pulls a Bohemian Rhapsody surprise in this laziness surprise in this category. Um, I don't think it's anything but one battle. Like I don't want to. There are certain categories that one battle and Sinners needs to win in order to win Best Picture, and I think this is one of them. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's a very very good point. That like there could be some key categories, for each of the top two contenders for Best Picture. That like if they lose that, then like that's gonna be a bad sign for their chance to Best Picture. Matthew, you and I were talking about this category a lot since nominations came out,
Yep.
and I even was sharing a lot of Chris's notes with you before the BAFTAs. But is it safe to say that you're feeling vindicated with this one?
Yes, because Chris, I know you and I haven't spoken about this, and again, this is the first time we're meeting on here at all, or even communicating with each other. I had said to Jack that since the beginning I saw the movie, this was going to win editing, and I just had a feeling that Andy Jurgens. It's the same feelings I had with Dune with Joe Walker when that film came out, and I'm like, dude, he is starting his campaign like right from the get go when they premiered at Venice, and he has been going to like everywhere with like Awards Radar. He did a couple of other podcast interviews and such, talking about his work on the movie. Same with Andy Jurgensen for One Battle After Another, and I just thought, yeah, like he's really campaigning his ass off to where he's probably going to get this Oscar. The Critics' Choice thing was just more of like they voted for the populist pick with F1. That's what happened there. I mean, even Zero Dark 30 won the category there, and guess what? Lost, BAFTA and Editors Guild. It lost to the eventual Oscar winner, Argo. So I feel like One Battle After Another is going to win this category pretty easily. And even the last couple of years themselves, in a divided field, you either go with either what's going to win the best sound Oscar or what's winning best picture. And I feel right now that One Battle After Another is going to win editing. I mean, also too, it's a 2 hour and 40-minute film. And even people I've talked with who hardly go to the movies, they said it was like the quickest 2.5 hour plus movie they'd seen ever. And I'm like, okay, that alone, that and the car chase at the end is enough of a reason to predict it for the Oscar. And the Ace and BAFTA combo, which I think the last one to do that and lost was Gladiator, but it still won sound. So yeah.
Yes. So I'm in agreement that One Battle is definitely going to be taking this one. And I think Ann Thompson said it best that the climactic sequence, with, the car chase and
Yep.
like, everything that happens in the hills, like that sealed the deal for it at the end of the day. I know like F1, like, Ford versus Ferrari won this category, and that like, that film was also about race car driving. But really, like when One Battle was able to win it at BAFTA, that was all I needed for it to be like, okay, it's going to be winning this category.
Yeah. One of the
Yeah.
things I want to bring up. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say one thing I did want to bring up in regards to Ford v Ferrari, and I hate to say this, Bohemian Rhapsody. Those films in particular, when they won editing in a divided field, it was their finales that got them the win. Because when you look at Ford v Ferrari, whether you like it or dislike it, a lot of people were talking about how well cut the final race was in Le Mans. I think that's where it was. And even myself, I was impressed with how that just flew by, to where it's like, it didn't even feel like almost an hour had gone by. And as much as we wanted to shit on Bohemian Rhapsody, a lot of people were mentioning the Live Aid sequence. Like, that was the one scene of the whole movie. Everyone kept talking about how emotionally swayed they were. I mean, I didn't feel the emotions personally. I thought it was very manipulative and forced, but it was one that everyone.
I felt it. I felt it.
Yeah. See, yeah, and a lot of other people would disagree with me and say, yeah, they really were emotionally enraptured by the finale of Bohemian Rhapsody, but sometimes that's all it takes for a movie is just you have a really solid finale, or you have a really solid section of the movie that's well constructed and well edited. It isn't just a lot of flashy cuts. Look at, our J cuts, L cuts, all these things. So yeah, all the more reason why I think going forward, that's something that we have to consider for the next film editing winner for next season.
When you said emotionally manipulative, I thought you were talking about Hamnet.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. Chris, I was a little bit surprised that you didn't like that film, or at least didn't give it like a moderate thumbs up.
My girlfriend loves that movie. She's a bigger Shakespeare person than I am, and she got really mad at me when I said, "Kids die." It's the 16th century. Kids died of the plague all the time.
Damn.
I'll also mention, slightly off topic, but my best friend, when he and his then girlfriend, now wife, went to see Barbie, he made a funny. He has like Leland has the best sense of humor ever. Leland said, like, guess like these 3 reasons why Grace is mad at me, and it's like option A, option B, and option C was I agree with the Ken patriarchy.
Oh my God.
Slightly off topic, but it just in the same vein of what Chris was saying, I just thought that'd be funny to share. Okay, now moving on to another, I think, a fairly easy category: costume design. The nominees are Avatar: Fire and Ash, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Mario Supreme, Sinners. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Was there even a thread of clothing on Avatar: Fire and Ash?
Yeah, that was just like that was the one nomination. Like, I remember, Chris, you and I were watching it live, and I just remember it was like what?
Yeah,
like,
I was too.
Where did that come from? I mean, I bet even Deborah L. Scott was like surprised at getting nominated. But
yeah. I guess it just shows you how much they just did not care at all about Wicked for good. So,
oh God, like yeah.
Yeah.
That's still absolutely hilarious that film, like, people were like comparing it to, like, that was going to be another, like, Lord of the Rings, where like it's going to come back in a very, very big way. And what did it get? Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Serves it right, because it got too many last year.
I agree with Chris on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on now to cinematography. The nominees are Frankenstein, Mario Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, Train Dreams. Chris, I think you're up on this one.
Yeah. I really don't think there's a debate on this. It's One Battle After Another. Again, if it loses this category, then we should be concerned. Sinners has not won a single industry cinematography precursor. Couldn't win BAFTA, couldn't win BFC, couldn't win ASC. And I think people should really consider that when they're making their best picture predictions, because if Sinners can't win cinematography, I don't know if it's going to win best picture.
Yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind about cinematography, and I don't know if Chris, if this is the reason why you very much like, just so you guys know, this can't win cinematography, it can't win picture. The last time a film won cinematography and a writing Oscar without picture, you'd have to go back to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So that's a long time ago it's happened. But yeah, I do think it is one battle after another. And also, too, anyone who wants to bring up, well, Hugo won, without any of the precursors. I should point out that Robert Richardson was a two-time winner in a very tech-heavy movie. I mean, Sinners is a very tech-heavy movie, but that field for cinematography that year was more divided than this year. Like Train Dreams, the only thing that got was Critics' Choice and the Spirit Award. And then One Battle was won the American Society Cinematographer Award, the British Society Award, the BAFTA. Like that to me sounds pretty much locked up for me to predict with One Battle. Like, but even the fact that it won the British Society Award, I'm just like, I'm starting to think that this is going to do it because of the VistaVision. They're shooting it with brand new creative, new lenses that they're testing out. They were shooting it as an action film. I mean, what Sinners did was impressive, but I just think at the end of the day, yeah, it's probably going to be one battle after another. And that's in very much a connection tied to, much like with editing, what Paul Thomas Anderson did with the vision of one battle after another.
Yeah, no disagreements there. I mean, the fact that it won the British Cinematographer, the American Cinematographer prize, and BAFTA, the fact that it won all three
Yep.
is why I think that this is a slam dunk. Train Dreams won the Critics' Choice, but that's not industry prize. Like, it's one battle after another. In my opinion, it's just completely pulled away from the rest of the other nominees. And I think that this will be a very, very easy tech win for it.
Yeah.
So now we are getting now to the above the line categories. And I think that some of these we'll be having a good discussion with. Some of these we can just say in unison what's going to win, including these next two. The nominees for original screenplay are Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Mario Supreme, Sentimental Value, Sinners. 1, 2, 3.
Sinners. Yeah, it's got it.
If any worst case scenario for Ryan Coogler, he wins just this.
Yeah. It's also following a very interesting pattern
best case scenario.
Yeah, and best case scenario. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris. I also want to say though that it does fit in line with what the original screenplay winners have gone for lately. Is that they go for the more creative or get like original concept, and it's blending in with a couple of other genres that it's not usually playing around with. I think of something like Get Out was one where it played around with that kind of genre. Actually, Everything Ever All at Once is probably a better comparison, actually, because that combines action, sci-fi,
Yes.
all these like weird stuff going on. And it is a very creative screenplay. I mean, the fact that, much like Anora last year, I also think that going forward, original screenplay, unless it's something like a Belfast, where it's like, we're so divided, it's like, screw it, let's just give it to the overdue veteran, Kenneth Branagh. But I think that the original screenplay category is just going to be what's the screenplay that makes writers very jealous and envy, like, oh, I wish I had this like creative script on my hands to give to write, and that usually wins the Oscar like 9 out of 10 times.
Yes, that word original plays a big role in what wins this category.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about, Pulp Fiction, The Crying Game, Her, Parasite, Promising Young Woman.
Anatomy of a Fall.
Anatomy of a Fall, yes. That word original plays a major, major role in what... Oh, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I think is another major example. So
Easily.
that word original, plays a big, big part in what comes out on top. You could technically be like the best written screenplay, but they often just go with like what's the most original, what's the most creative screenplay. And I think that for this case, vampires in the Jim Crow South in the mid 1910s. That is that's a
as a musical,
as a musical. Oh, sorry, not 1910s, 1930s. Yeah, it was 1930s. Sorry, yeah. Okay, yeah. Nothing more to be said about this. It's Sinners. It's got this.
Congratulations, Ryan Coogler. You're an Oscar winner.
Absolutely. The nominees for adapted screenplay are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, Train Dreams. And I think this is another one we can just say in unison. PTA,
Yep.
you got this.
He's finally gonna win an Oscar. He should have won years ago. I have
I
a
l-
custom shirt. I'll be wearing
I
this on the
lo-
Oscars.
I love that shirt. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I got mixed feelings about that movie for two very specific scenes, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. I know a
but
lot of
yeah,
people. I know a lot of people are not. Yeah, no, I understand. I think I know the scenes you're talking about, but
I get
yeah,
it. I get it, and it is one of my top. If I'm being very objective, it is one of my top maybe two or three PTA movies.
oh nice.
If it weren't for those two specific scenes.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I get it. Because even I'm like, look, man, I cannot defend those scenes at all. I don't know what the
I
fuck
can
he was
defend
doing.
every other controversy that
Yeah,
people had with that movie, but yeah.
yeah, I can't either. But yeah, Paul Thomas Anderson, yeah, it's gonna be awesome to finally see him win an Oscar. I also want to say, I want to be a bit humble to Jack. He was right. I was wrong earlier on the season. I thought Hamnet was going to win adapted screenplay because it won the TIFF prize. It won all these audience awards. And I thought, well, okay, usually the screenplay awards typically go to the award festival favorite film, but Hamnet will probably win a lone Oscar in another category we'll talk about later. But yeah, it just ended up being one battle after another. And interesting comparison Jack made to me, and I thought, damn it, I think he is onto something. Is the fact that you compared it, Jack, to this being PTA's The Departed, where it's a very twist and turn screenplay. It has a lot of snappy dialogue, one liners, very catchy phrases said in the movie. Especially with Sean Penn's character, who just goes nuts in the movie. And yeah, it very much feels in line with that as the type of film to win. And that usually is, if you're not the most creative film, like original screenplay, then you have to do something like this where it's a lot of twists and turns with your script. And you typically win the Oscar, if the ball is in your court, of course.
yes, this is. I think the thing with Hamnet. I mean, crowd pleasers often win this category. But the thing I came out of with Hamnet is that like it's just it's not a very writerly film. Like it's just it very much has like especially like the majority of the film before the final act, it does kind of a bit of a Terrence Malick vibe to it. And I
Yeah.
just like when I came out as I was just like I don't know if like this is really like a writer's film. Whereas one battle after another, this is a film that like keeps you on the edge of your seat, at the very beginning and in the last hour
Yeah.
especially. And then when Paul Thomas Anderson managed to win the Golden Globe for screenplay, which I did not predict because it almost never happens
Yeah.
that a director wins both director and screenplay at the Golden Globes. When he won the Globe for screenplay, I was just like, oh no, this is a piece of cake win for him. And
Yep.
so, you know, I know a lot of us, like Matthew, you and I were thinking that it was going to be kind of like Christopher Nolan a couple years ago, whereas like, the directing win was going to be the first win for him.
Yeah.
But but no, adapt screenplay is going to be the first win for Paul Thomas Anderson, and I'm sure that we're going to agree it's going to be one of his many wins
Yeah.
that night.
I
Now we,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I just want to say real quick, it's going to be so awesome to say the phrase Academy Award winner Paul Thomas Anderson. Like that is going to be awesome. Anyways, go ahead, continue.
It's been a long time coming. I'm just so glad it's finally going to happen for him. And now we come to the acting categories. And we're going to start off with supporting actor.
Okay.
The nominees are Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi, Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo, Sinners, Sean Penn, One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård, Sentimental Value. Chris, why don't you lead us one off?
Yeah, it's Sean Penn. Based on
Matthew,
every based on every reason every other person has said online or in these like podcast shows. Um, but also like I don't buy this bullshit that like he's not gonna show up. Therefore, like one,
Yeah.
one he has one. They don't. They have voted for Oscar winners when it was not a one. It wasn't a guarantee that they would win, and two, if it was a guarantee if they would show up. Like
Anthony Hopkins.
Mark Rylance, Anthony Hopkins, the boy in the heron, Francis McDormand, like for Nomadland. Like they, I don't think they like take that into consideration. And honestly, I know people are like the people that say, "Oh yeah, he gives a good performance." I just wish this wasn't his third Oscar. I'm like, well, I'm sure down the line you'll have differing feelings on another actor. So like,
Yeah.
just
Yes.
grow up. And
Nice. Nice, Chris.
look, I'm tired. So like,
Yeah.
I really conserve my energy for like, the actual like the uncertain categories. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be saying that in another acting category maybe soon. But yeah, Sean Penn has everything he needs. Also, if One Battle wins picture, I shouldn't say if, but what it's hard to believe it won't take an acting prize home with it. And
Yeah.
I'm not by. I think Tiana Sean Penn has gone literally the opposite route of Tiana Taylor. So he's their best shot at an acting award. And I just based on that logic, all that combined, I just don't see any other alternative. Like Stellan lost BAFTA. That was pretty much his nail in the coffin. So
Yeah. Sorry,
So
buddy.
Matt, so Matthew, you, funnily enough, like you had Sean Penn at the very beginning, and then you switched to Benicio del Toro as we got closer to Christmas time.
Yeah.
Then you got persuaded into the Jacob Elordi possibility, and then I think it was after Golden Globes that you were starting to come around to Stellan Skarsgård. But now your instincts were right all along. And
Yeah.
and Matthew, like I had Sean Penn for as a placeholder for a while. I just was hesitant that like him of all people would be someone they would want to give a third Oscar to,
Yeah.
because he's not like Francis McDormand where like I mean, yes, he's like McDormand, like he doesn't really care about awards, but like the fact like he was just like the year of like Coda won Best Picture, like he just said like, if you guys don't talk about Ukraine, I will melt my Oscars live on camera. And so I was just like, oh, like they're not gonna give this guy a third one. Come on. But in some cases, the performance just maybe just too hard to deny. So
Yeah.
Matthew, I think unless something shocking happens on Oscar night, I think you're right.
Yeah. And the thing about, yeah, I understand Delroy Lindo. Everyone is saying like, oh, maybe he could be a potential sneak. And I'm not going to name any names on the show. But the thing about Delroy Lindo is that he's in the same boat as where Stellan Skarsgård is, where the nomination is the win. I don't really see Delroy Lindo pulling off the upset. And for him to be like a Marcia Gay Harden type win, the field would have to have been more divided. And what was it? Sony Pictures Classics got really lucky. They had a great campaign for that year with Marcia Gay Harden. I did the whole episode on it for Almost Famous. Check out my episode there. I talk more about it, about why Marcia Gay Harden potentially won and why this is different.
Shout out to Zeddy.
Yes, Zeddy was on the episode for that. But yeah, no, I thought so. I'll try to be brief with this because we got other categories we need to argue about. Or maybe not. I don't know. I remember I'm not the biggest Sean Penn guy in the world as an actor, or as a person. I just don't really like him, period. And the fact that I came into this and everyone's like, they're like, oh yeah, no, man, this is like the best Sean Penn performance ever. I'm like, yeah, blow it out your ass, whatever. And then I saw the movie and came out of it, go, damn it, I actually really liked him in this movie. And I really liked his acting, quirks and ticks that I usually don't like. It works for this character in a weird way. And even just like last year when I saw Nora with my cousin Dan, and he mentioned how much of a standout Mikey Madison was, to make me go, okay, if a normie general audience member like my cousin Dan is, really appreciated what Mikey did in Honor. I think she could take it. This year, I went to Thanksgiving dinner. I had my uncle Dan, another Dan on my mom's side this time, but my uncle Dan, without even mentioning anything about the movies to him, he just saw me across the table and said, "Oh, by the way, man, I saw One Battle After Another. Terrific movie. In fact, Sean Penn stole the movie for me." And I thought, "Oh, okay, so this is something that film Twitter is just not prepared for at all." And that was my intuition early on. I thought, okay, I think Sean Penn's probably going to win a third Oscar. It doesn't matter if they hate his guts. What matters is that it's the performance itself that's speaking for itself, and the fact that he hasn't ran his mouth, unlike some contenders, past and present. It's hurt their chances. With Sean, he has kept his mouth closed. He has done some campaigning, but not as much as his competitors, like Delroy Lindo or Stellan Skarsgård. But he was at least there early on with the cast, and he did like a one-on-one interview with Jimmy Kimmel when the movie was coming out. But yeah, I think Sean Penn, like the fact that he won SAG and BAFTA, that's a deadly combo for anyone else trying to compete against that. Like it's almost an impossible situation to beat someone with that combo. So yeah, I think Sean Penn's got this, and he'll win a third Oscar.
Yeah, he won the highbrow award show and the populist award.
Exactly.
So that's pretty much the combination. Also, I don't know about anybody else, but who actually believed he was gonna melt his Oscars? Like really? Like just him being Sean. Like I don't give two shits about the guy either, but like it's if people want to like talk politically, like he is a lefty. He is a lefty humanitarian.
I've been to Iraq.
However one defines that word, but like. Yeah, he's done a lot of like humanitarian stuff. And but I will say again, this is a category because, either this or supporting actress is going to be presented either first or early on in the night. So like if Delroy wins, then I'll immediately say Sinners is winning Best Picture.
Yeah. Same.
So yeah, final things I'll say about this, Matthew, similar to what you were saying about your uncle. I showed this to my family. Now, my dad, unfortunately, because we had a terrible ice storm back at the house, and he got a bad night's sleep because all these like loud branches because of bomb they were falling and it sounded like bombs going off. But so my whole family stayed here for 8 days, including my little dog. And the first night, I showed my family One Battle After Another, and my dad was enjoying it, but he just got too tired after like the first half an hour, and he just checked out. But my mom and my brother watched the whole film with me, and who did they think was the best performance in the film? Sean Penn.
Yeah.
So yes. So I think the SAG and BAFTA combo. It really, if I was to compare it to anything, it's kind of like when like supporting actress 2004 when Natalie Portman won the Globe, Virginia Madsen won the Critics' Choice, but then Cate Blanchett won both the SAG and the BAFTA. That sealed it. And so him winning both is all that this is all that's all it needed to do to tell me that like he's got this. And I don't think this is one to overthink. It's just actually it's the second acting category I'm the most confident in.
Yeah. Also, I like Chris's comparison with like the highbrow and the populist the prize. That's a good one. Nice one.
Oh yeah, no, like he passed both tests. So right on, Chris. Okay, now moving on to one that I think will definitely make the most interesting discussion, because this is one that I don't think I'm going to be fully settled on until maybe 24 hours or 48 hours before Oscar night. Supporting actress. Nominees are Elle Fanning, Ain't Im Starter Leela's. Elle Fanning sentimental value, Ain't Im Starter Leela's sentimental value, Amy Madigan Weapons, Wumi Masaku Sinners, Tiana Taylor One Battle After Another. Matthew, you have the floor.
Oh, I was gonna have Chris answer for me and first.
Chris went first for supporting actress, so you get to go first this one.
I think if I open it, I think it will lead to a more exciting discussion, at least for this category. But What it's your
Okay.
call.
Okay,
All right.
whoever wants to go first. It doesn't really matter that
I'll
much.
just okay. So all due respect to because I actually don't know who you guys are picking, but all due respect to everyone who is picking this person. I don't get why everyone is picking Amy Madigan. Because I just don't buy. First of all, the history doesn't support it. In terms of Angela Bassett and like veterans or people who like are their lone nominations for their films who like literally wouldn't see an Oscar nomination anywhere else. But also, and there's this reasoning going around that like, oh, Wumi and Tiana will split votes. And not to make and maybe intentionally or unintentionally they are making it into a kind of a I don't want to say racial thing, but like maybe a film, but also I think that also kind of plays into a factor. And also in terms of like best picture front runners, which again, I can somewhat understand that, but I just don't think I just don't see the stats to support Amy Madigan. Yes, she won Critics' Choice, which I predicted. Yes, she won SAG, which is a very populist vote. Yes, SAG was in the middle of Oscar voting. I understand that. I just don't. I just don't see. I don't think she's like that popular with one the international branch. First of all, because she did miss a BAFTA nomination, similar to like someone say like Lily Gladstone, who also didn't win the Oscar, even though she did win SAG in the middle of voting. Um, I just don't think she is has maybe she has enough goodwill, but I just don't think it's enough to win. I just don't know how else to say it other than like she is the lone nominee for a film. She is not a sweeper. She's not even a nominate. She wasn't even nominated everywhere. She missed one major industry precursor with voter overlap, which is in a lineup of six, which is a very telling sign. But I, I just it's tough. But like I just don't see all the stats and all the history and the fact that like Amy Madigan is yes, she's overdue, but name me one voter who actually remembered the name of her first movie that she was nominated for. A voter, not like a critic or like people.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
uh, and I don't know. I just don't think a lot of people will take that into account. Now, the thing that's working against, Tiana and Wumi is that like, their screen time is not, let's just say, isn't that spread out. But I do think I do think I am going with Wumi Masako. I think Sinners can win two acting prizes because I this will factor into Best Actor. I don't think Sinners does that well at SAG and doesn't pick up at least one acting award. And with Wumi Masako winning BAFTA, I'm pretty sure she had a very good shot at SAG, were it not for like the populace,
Mm,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
mm.
were it not for the populace and the sentimental feel towards Madigan. So I just think I think she has enough support, especially from the actors branch, because I think the actors branch is the strongest advocate for sinners. Um, so I'm going with her. Honestly, I'm not losing that much sleep. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong for the right reasons. But I just can't buy. I just based on history and stats, I just can't buy into Madigan, and I don't buy this splitting theory either. So because that also doesn't work when you have two best picture front runners. I
Yeah.
like one's gonna overtake the other. But yeah, that's all I got.
Okay.
Matthew,
I
please
I got
chime in. But
I
but
I
then but I have
yeah.
some things to report.
So
But go right ahead.
I have to say, Chris, I was a little bit stunned that you're in agreement with me. I'm also predicting Wumi Masaku. I understand that the anonymous ballots that Jack may or may not mention to us is or
Is it not?
what he's
It's
about to
not.
mention.
It's not.
But the thing about Amy Madigan is that even though there is a rule instituted in the Academy that they're required to watch all the Oscar nominated performances and films, I just have a feeling that they're just gonna be like, all right, just check it off. I guess I saw it. I don't know. And it is really tough for a lone acting nominee to win um the Oscar. Like the last time someone did it was Julianne Moore for Still Alice, and she was a big sweeper too. And she was up against like one Best Picture nominee.
Chadwick couldn't win. So
Yeah, Chadwick couldn't even do it either, and he was like, wasn't he like the lone, like the only non Best Picture nominee in his field?
He
Okay.
was.
Um. So yeah, I feel like and I also want to say too, when it comes to whenever we get SAG and BAFTA splitting, there have been other years where one guild will go for a non-best picture nominee and the other one will go for an Oscar nominee. Rachel Weisz won for the BAFTA for The Favorite, and then SAG went to Emily Blunt for A Quiet Place. I'm not going to mention those because those are their own different situations. Even the Penelope Cruz thing is different from what we're talking about with this. But typically, most times when we get SAG and BAFTA splitting, 9 out of 10 times they go with the Oscars end up going with what is the stronger film overall. So you think of something like Demi Moore versus Mikey Madison. Sorry, Jack. Adrian Brody versus
That's fine.
Chalamet.
That's fine.
Emma
I wasn't
Stone.
bothered by that.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I feel really bad after that season. But anyways, but Emma Stone with Gladstone, Jamie Lee Curtis versus Carrie Condon. The list goes on. But like even someone like Olivia Colman versus Glenn Close, like one of them was a lone Oscar nominee and lost out to what ended up being the Best Picture nominee. In fact, this might be a bit of a stretch from what I'm about to bring up for a comparison, but I almost wonder if we're in a similar situation to what happened with Alan Arkin in the end, where just like Wumi Musaku, Alan Arkin won with the cast for Critics' Choice and SAG for the ensemble. And Eddie Murphy had won both those prizes for the supporting actor category. I think he won Critics' Choice and SAG. But when it came time to the BAFTAs, they just said, all right, let's give Alan Arkin the prize. And then, it's also like, just like Little Miss Sunshine, Sinners is considered a number one, number two contender for picture that's already winning original screenplay walking into the door. Like I do think that Sinners is much stronger than Little Miss Sunshine. But yeah, and I actually do think that Wumi Musaku might pull this off. But who knows? Jack, do you want to tell us what your findings were from what you were told?
Okay. So ever since BAFTA, I've had Wumi Misako at number one, thinking that, Sinners is going to have a very good night. She's not going to win SAG based on what my very good friend Tara Khan was telling me. And, Chris, if you saw me shaking my head earlier, Wumi Misako, according to Tarek's polling, was like way down in third. Like it wasn't Amy Madigan, first of all the voters he surveyed at SAG. Now, I'm not talking the Academy, but I'm just talking at SAG. It was more than the other four nominees combined. Amy Madigan got 81 votes and Tiana Taylor got 36. William Misaku only got 29. And this was a big, big night for Sinners. And she wasn't even in the running to win. And so to me, that's a big, big red flag. Now, the BAFTA snub for Amy Madigan, that was also a big red flag. And that's the one thing that I'm really, really struggling to shake because what I've been hearing, Tarek told me in his, Academy sample that just like SAG, Madigan is way ahead. I also was in the Twitter space listening to what Matt Neglia said. And one of the things that Matt Neglia said, which very much surprised me, because I thought that with Amy Madigan, that if she was getting support in the Academy, it was going to be just the younger branch. No, there were a lot of older voters going for her as well. And so if I was to compare it to anything, because again, like one time that I went with just the stats and I was just like, no, you guys are crazy. Like, the stats are saying against it. You guys are just clearly clinging on to hope this is not happening, was Regina King. And we know that Regina King missed the SAG because of the screener issue, but that's not what happened at BAFTA because Beale Street got other nominations at BAFTA and she was intentionally left off.
Yep.
But she still won. And I bet on Rachel Weisz for the BAFTA for the Oscar. And then when Regina King won, I was just like, oh, why did I not listen? Why did I not listen? And so this, based on what Tarek has said, what Matt Neglia said, Pete Hammond was heavily implying that, like, in his commentary and his articles that, like, she is, crushing it because he's predicting her. And he did say, and I'm gonna get to the vote splitting thing in a second between the other two people who are in this race, but I'm going to address that in a second. But also, Kyle Buchanan said he just talked to so many voters who are going for her. And what is this reminding me of? This is reminding me of in early 2018, Tom O'Neill reminded the Gold Derby editors panel. This was the year The Shape of Water won Best Picture. And people were talking about Shape of Water and Three Billboards. And Tom had mentioned, we just got to see what was like the biggest consensus pick. And Tom had said, because stats and history, he just thought The Revenant just absolutely had it. But
yeah,
he
that's
just
right.
kept hearing weeks and weeks, Spotlight, Spotlight, Spotlight. I liked or loved Spotlight. And 48 Hours, he said he changed because he just could not deny what he was hearing. I just keep hearing from everyone who I've been, in contact with that this is not even a close race. And so I just, this is really tough. So my prediction in this segment as we're recording this is Wumi Masaku. I will reveal to you all later if I did decide to make that switch. But my goodness.
All right,
Amy Madigan,
think of it this way.
Yeah.
If Amy Madigan was nominated at BAFTA, do you think she would even have came close to winning?
probably not. But but then again, it could have been like, one thing that Tar compared Wumi
Do you
Masaku's
think?
win
Okay,
to
let me
was
rephrase it this way. In terms of the SAG polling, where you said Madigan was the runaway favorite, and Masaku was like far behind or like in third or whatever. Do you
like way
think?
down in third.
Okay, fine. In say like a less than 1% tally of at least 100K voters in SAG, most of whom aren't Academy members. With BAFTA, which has a much smaller voting branch, do you think that would be the same distance Madigan would have with the BAFTA voters, had she been nominated? And even if it was, do you think, given the voting branch and the overlap correlation, do you think that would have been detrimental or not?
It's a really good question. I don't think Madigan would have won, but I don't think she would have done.
I'm saying, which do you think the space between her hypothetical placing at BAFTA and Masaku would have been the same as their placing during SAG, only the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think Madigan would have been that far behind, to be honest with you. But it is something to consider. But yeah, no, what you were saying, Chris, about the vote, like the potential vote splitting, I think that the fact that Tiana Taylor and I do think it's important to say that I do think Tiana Taylor is not entirely out of this race. I'm not going to predict her, but the one thing I will say about Tiana Taylor is that she is the only person in this category who made it into every single precursor. Who was another person who made it every single precursor and ended up winning? Mark Rylance.
Yeah.
So, but that's the thing. I think, but sorry, I'm
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Last thing I'm going to say on this is that drawing a blank, what I was going to say, is that I do think the fact that, Womi Saku and Tiana Taylor both getting in are signs of strength for the film. But I do think that, because they are both definitely going to get votes. I think if this is a two-person race, I think I would be more inclined to go with, whoever won BAFTA if it was just two-person race. But now that it's a three-person race, there are other things I'm looking at. And I don't think that this is clear-cut at all.
The thing I also want to bring up about SAG, which is why I remember telling Jack specifically after we got the BAFTA winners last season, that I said, I don't care who SAG goes for. I'm not going to listen to SAG at all for that season, because even if they went for who were like potential picks that they ended up going for, then I'm like, well, it's probably not going to matter, because that's what SAG does. They like to break records. They like to go for the veteran actors every once in a while. Like they gave Glenn Close her SAG win, even if she wasn't going to win the Oscars. Like, all right, here you go. Here's your award from us. They gave Ruby Dee supporting actress for American Gangster. And I mean, granted, she only had like one other nomination for production design, but I just feel like going forward, we have to be more cautious. And this goes to any of the acting categories that didn't win SAG and BAFTA for the actors. We have to be cautious on what SAG ends up going for in split years, because for all we know, it could just be a SAG thing. Maybe, Jack, you're right. You and your buddies are right about Amy Madigan like pulling this upset off. It's possible. I'm just not going to go on, word of mouth for my predictions. But that is going to be something that going forward, even if Amy does win, I'm still going to be very cautious of SAG, because the other thing we should also bring up is the fact that they didn't go for any international contenders this year. No Sentimental Value, no Secret Agent, nothing. They just went for the youngsters like Odessa Zion from Marty Supreme, Ariana Grande, Miles Caton. And again, I can't shake the fact that Amy Madigan, for me to buy her as an Oscar winner, she needed some kind of she needed a nomination at BAFTA, or like Regina King, get something from her film to get nominated at BAFTA. Why couldn't Weapons get in for makeup or casting? I don't know if it was shortlisted for casting or makeup there, but it should have gotten something from BAFTA for me to buy that Amy Madigan could pull this off. It is probably going to be one of those moments where, I'm going to be slapping myself silly, but looking back, it's like, no, I had justification for not predicting Amy Madigan if she does pull this off. And she very well could. But the Tiana Taylor thing, I do think that she's probably a third place pick, because like I said, even though this is a 3-person race, you have to look at what the industry precursors are going for and not what Critics' Choice and Golden Globes are going for, because those are not industry prizes. They help with the momentum to get you nominated and maybe solidify yourself as a front runner. But BAFTA and SAG are really the two key prizes if you want to get ahead in the acting categories. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say too is that I just keep going back to Lily Gladstone. Same path, same trajectory.
Yeah.
Ended up losing for a much stronger film. And I will say, even if anything, I would argue Amy Madigan's Mrs. BAFTA was worse than when Lily Gladstone missed, because when Lily Gladstone missed, it was still that jury thing. So so she just didn't make a top 2 or 3. Amy Madigan didn't make a top 6.
Yeah.
Out of 10, was she out of 10? Out of 10 on the short list. So she was either 7 to 10 on BAFTA. I can't shake that. So.
And Lily couldn't even complete her sweep with what precursors she had. She lost the Critics' Choice to Emma Stone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Final thing, and my last words on this, and yeah, this is why, even though I've been talking about this with Matthew, and I'm not, everything I've been saying to Matthew, I'm not Matthew, be prepared to be wrong about this. No. I'm just more like, Matthew, I just there's a lot of evidence in front of me. I kind of find this hard to deny. But with all those, red flags that you all brought up is why, I'm not there just yet, but I'm going to really, really think about this one. But the last thing I'm going to say about this before we move on, is every time Amy Madigan and Womi Saku have competed against each other, Madigan won. That's just one thing to consider. Take it with the biggest grain of salt as you will. But yeah, this is not, I don't think this is easy. And I think that you just, if you want to rely on stats, I don't think there's anything, wrong with that. If you want to rely on, something like the big word of mouth from like some of the most well connected pundits, I don't think there's anything wrong with that either. But yeah, I'm just prediction now, William Misaku, but that could change tomorrow or Saturday.
One last thing, and then we'll move on to the other categories and get to the other stuff. But didn't Sylvester Stallone beat Rylance at Critics' Choice and Golden Globe for Creed?
He did.
Yes.
Okay,
He did.
just
But
something to
I
bring
will.
up.
Oh yeah, no, that's very valid. But the only thing is, Stallone's as well as Demi Moore, their reputations in the industry are far different from Amy
Oh,
Madigan's.
oh, easily, yeah. And for the record, I wouldn't complain if Amy Madigan won. I know there are some people out there that don't like to see that doesn't want to see Weapons win an Oscar, but if it does win, I'd be happy for it. But like I said, I just personally just don't see the path, and I see a lot of red flags more so. But anyways,
Yeah, no. I mean, I honestly, I think you can point to a lot of pros and cons with the top three.
yeah,
Sorry, Inga. Sorry, L. You're just happy to be nominated. Okay,
we failed you,
moving on.
Inga.
Moving on to Best Actor, the nominees are Timothy Chalamet, Mario Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, and Wagner Moura, Secret Agent. Chris, given that you started off with supporting actress,
Yeah.
last time.
Once again, Jack, I'm not going to say I told you so because even
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect. I did not predict the eventual like possible winner that we're going to get because I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was actually going to pull it off. I thought he was going to be the one when I saw it. I came out of the theater. I'm like, yeah, I think he's going to just win with the picture prize. But Leo hasn't won any of the precursors. And then when Timothy Chalamet won Critics' Choice and Golden Globe, I'm like, damn it. Like, I guess he's going to win the Oscar. And then he stumbled at BAFTA with Robert Aramayo with I Swear. And then SAG. Kind of a surprise. Michael B. Jordan won that because I was not expecting him to win SAG. And now he's in a position where it's like, I think Michael B. Jordan's just going to run away with this Oscar. Like he is in a top two contender. He's playing twins, which is rare that happens. But the fact that he's in a big enough contender like this, you have 16 nominations. What the hell do you think is going to happen with Sinners? Like I mean, it could very much be technically the biggest loser of all time if it manages to lose more than 11 categories. And it very much could. But I do see Sinners winning at least. I think I have it predicted winning 5 right now, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think Michael B. Jordan's probably going to win this. I mean, even rewatching his speech at SAG, I mean, Tarek even said it best on the internet. It's like that is an award-winning speech. Like that's the kind of speech you give if you want to win an Oscar. And you could tell he was stunned that he won the SAG award. And I understand that the stats aren't favoring Michael B. Jordan because he only won SAG. He didn't win any of the other precursors. But unlike Denzel Washington for Fences and Timothy Chalamet for Complete Unknown, he managed to get his ensemble a prize as well. And typically, when you win that with your actor prize, you more or less win the Oscar. Like, I'm thinking back to like Kevin Spacey when he did it with American Beauty. Like, he won the BAFTA after the Oscars, but he only had SAG up to that point, and he still managed to get his film a Best Picture win. So yeah, I think it's probably going to be Michael B. Jordan for the win. I did think Wagner Moura could do it, but I don't know. I just don't think a lot of voters are going to catch up with Secret Agent, despite it being a very like international favored film. Like he didn't get a BAFTA he missed the BAFTA long list. Again, SAG didn't go for his film at all. It just gave me a lot of reminders of what happened when Jessica Chastain won for Eyes of Tammy Faye, where it's like once she won SAG, I thought, yeah, I think this is over. And even if she did win the Critics' Choice that year, I still would have predicted Jessica Chastain. So, yeah, I think it's Michael B. Jordan.
Chris?
Yeah, people say the stats aren't working for Michael B. Jordan. Well, the stats aren't working for Timothy Chalamet either. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, look, as someone who took marketing courses, first rule of thumb is don't run your mouth. And I'm not even talking about of the opera bullshit that he said.
Yeah.
I could literally write an essay on better than the New York Times or whatever. I mean, I don't maybe okay, maybe not better. Oh, well, actually, I don't know. Maybe I could. I'm not gonna waste my time
Don't
reading.
sell yourself short, you
I'm
know?
not gonna waste my time reading that
Yeah.
shit. Um, but yeah, it I think let's just say I think the path Michael B. Jordan has taken is the complete opposite of what the path Chalamet has taken, and I think let's just say I think there's a lot of voters. If you want to talk anonymous ballots, but I think there's a lot of voters that and people that are kind of turned off by that.
Yep.
Um, and personally speaking, I think him and all of his stands and anyone who vehemently defends every stupid comment he has made over the last 3 months, let I think they could all use a little bit more maturity. Let's just say that.
Mm.
So, but stats alone, you know, I think it's based on process of elimination. I think it's Michael B. Jordan. Again, Sinners. In order for I don't I don't think it does that well at SAG. Gets the ovation it does from the room, and I don't think it does that well and doesn't win at least one acting prize.
Yeah.
I currently have it winning two, so
Yeah.
I think I think this is just by process of elimination. I think again, actors branch are the biggest advocate for Sinners more than any other branch, and they are the largest branch in the Academy. And also, like for Wagner Moore to win, Secret Agent has to win international, and I don't know how many people are confident on that. So
Yeah. The other thing I also want to bring up before Jack probably has to say, before Jack gives his 2 cents, something about lead actor this decade I've noticed. I don't know if either of you have either. Unless you're a grand sweeper like Will Smith or, potential lead actress winner coming up, um, they typically go with what is the film that's winning in other categories. So something like Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, he didn't pull a grand sweep, but he was able to get other prizes for his film. Fraser got the makeup nominate win. Michelle Yeoh was in a Best Picture frontrunner. Jessica Chastain in makeup as well. Things like that. Even Anthony Hopkins got an adapted screenplay win for The Father.
Kelly
So
Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, yeah, he was in a Best Picture and Director winner and was already winning supporting actor. So yeah, I just feel like that's probably the unofficial new rule we're getting. Maybe is that if you're not pulling a grand sweeper, like maybe make sure you're in a top 2 contender and you're winning other prizes elsewhere, and it isn't just you're the lone acting nominee. Yeah,
Yes. So there are still some people who are still predicting Timothy Chalamet. And as much as, because I love the performance myself, I would like it to happen. I'm just like, no, I don't see it. I just heard from too many people that like, they were turned off by, the way he ran this campaign. I mean, if I had to compare it to anything, it's kind of like what Sally Kirkland did when she was campaigning for Anna. Like she went really over the top with that campaign, and that really turned off a lot of voters. I mean, granted, she had an uphill climb because like that film, like she was the only nomination for that film for like a very, very small film, Anna. But with Timothy, there is a fine line that you walk between like campaigning and like really wanting it, but not coming across too desperate. Like I remember, Julianne Moore ran a pitch perfect campaign for Still Alice. Jamie Lee Curtis,
yeah,
she really walked that fine line between just like putting herself out there, but just really being like a big cheerleader and advocate for the whole Everything Everywhere All at Once team. And so Timothy Chalamet just really kind of, I think, went a little bit too over the top. And I do think with how strong Sinners is, I think that it's just the stats don't work entirely in his favor, but I definitely feel better about predicting him than I do about William Masaku. And I think that as Matthew, as you said, the speech did him a whole lot of favors. And given that Sinners is a top 2 contender for Best Picture, I think that was enough to put him over the edge. I would say I'm about 75, 80% confident that he's going to take this. I think bottom number's possibility, maybe slim chance for Chalamet, but I just would never put a bet on that. And then, I mean, some people have been putting out the theory that DiCaprio was second at BAFTA and he's going to pull like the biggest shocker of the night. I mean, well, imagine what that
Oh
would be like.
man. Oh man, that would be
And
awesome.
and then Ethan Hawke, sorry, you're just lucky to be nominated.
Got the mic. Yeah.
But
One other
yeah,
thing I want to say about Chalamet, sorry for again, just I'm very sorry for bringing this up again, Jack.
it
But
is okay. It is
but
okay.
okay. Is that I do think outside of the campaigning, I do think that him being just turning 30 and him being seen still as a young boy and he's still a box office movie star. I think that's also going to hurt his favors for now. Like I do feel like he's going to be the next. He is currently in like the where Paul Newman and DiCaprio were, where he's in his box office movie star phase. And then once he mellows out with age and he's like, okay, whatever, I don't give a shit about the award. I mean, I kind of do, but I'm not going to show it. And I'm going to reach to my 40s, 50s, or 60s. And then he's going to find a role like Paul Newman and DiCaprio did, where it's going to be like, this is an Oscar winning type role. You got all the things favored for you. You have no competition. You might win this Oscar. I think that's going to happen for him down the road. Because even I came out of Marty Supreme and I'm like, I don't know if and I told Jack too. And he thought, well, okay, maybe Matt's a little bit biased, towards Chalamet, which I mean, I kind of am. But I did tell him, I said, I see a path for Chalamet to win an Oscar. I just don't think it's going to be for this movie.
Yeah, it's okay. I have no problem with eating crow. I don't.
And
So
like I said, I'm not going to say I told you so because if I were to do that, then that means I would have had to have told you early on that Jordan was going to win. I did not see that coming at all.
I don't think many of us did, to be honest with you.
No.
I mean, a lot of people even were talking about we're talking that he could possibly be like the populist Margot Robbie Barbie type contender that gets snubbed, even though
Yeah,
the film does
that I
fairly well
did
across
not
the board.
buy. Yeah, I
I,
that was
I,
like that's not happening. He's getting
I,
in.
I didn't buy that either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, to a much easier category that we're gonna probably spend just like 1 second covering: Best Actress. Nominees are Jessie Buckley Hamnet, Rose Byrne If I Had Legs I Kick You, Kate Hudson Song Song Blue, Renat Reinsve Sentimental Value, and Emma Stone Begonia. Um, Jessie Buckley.
Yeah, she's got it. Congratulations on your Oscar. She passed the Zeddy test of likability. Which it's still funny that it's like wow, so that is actually a legit thing after Mikey and Jesse now. Um, yeah, she's gonna get the Oscar and it'll be the one win that Hamnet gets on the night. So congratulations to your Oscar, Jesse Buckley.
Chris, does the biggest Hamnet fan in the world agree?
I'll say if Rose Byrne's movie had more support or more nominations, then this would be a contest. But it's
Yep. I agree with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, like if it got in for picture and screenplay, editing, I would have liked to have seen that film get more nominations over race car movie, vroom vroom. But whatever. The Academy's not cool. They're old and they have simple tastes. But anyways, that's that.
Yeah, but Rose Byrne was terrific. I
She
absolutely
was.
agree.
She was very good in the movie. She honestly, if you had to give me the ballot between her and Rose Byrne, I'm like, I don't know. It's really tough because they're both really good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Best director. The nominees are Chloe Zhao Hamnet, Josh Safdie. I want to say John. Josh Safdie, Mari Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier, Samel Value, and Ryan Coogler Sinners. Matt, I hear
Yeah.
you're flashing the licorice pieces shirt, so
Yeah. He's gonna do it. He's actually gonna win director. It's again with adapted screenplay, it's like it's kind of nuts that this is gonna be his coronation of sorts. And I little tidbit story on this because we probably don't have much else to say about who was competitive. Like it's like who cares? But anyone else is gonna be no, not really. I remember when he got nominated for Phantom Thread and in a bit of an upset of like, holy shit, like he got nominated for director and picture for this movie and it got no other major precursors. I thought to myself, like Chalamet, I said, I think Paul's going to win an Oscar down the road. It's not going to be for this movie, but somewhere down the road, he's going to finally get his due because he's getting up there with nominations and age, and he's starting to mellow out with age, and there's going to be a movie that's going to get him that win. And again, most of it thought maybe it's Licorice Pizza on the night of, and it's like, no, in reality, it's one battle after another. And yeah, congratulations once again. Second Oscar for Paul Thomas Anderson. So
And I think it was worth the wait because this really is an extraordinary fit. This is an extraordinary achievement in filmmaking.
yeah.
Chris, anything to add? I have one more thing to say, but you go. But I wanted you to chime in first.
Good for the PTA heads. Like, I mean that seriously, not facetiously, but yeah, you know, it's his overdue narrative. It's you can't ignore it. You, it's been ever since the day it came out. Everyone was saying it, and yeah, it was pretty much like it's hard to overtake that, which should make the best picture conversation also very short too.
Yeah, and even like I agree with Chris though. There have been directors we've had lately, like it has also been a pattern for director where they get their overdue narrative too, when it's like, guys, read the room. Like it's just done. Sorry, guys, like to some of your favorites, but it's kind of hard for someone like this to happen. I think the only time we had something like this and they lost was Sam Mendes, but he had already won for American Beauty, and that was also favoring like that had a lot of red flags that one battle after another just doesn't. Even in the director race, I'm just like, yeah. So he's got it.
Yes, and also the other comparison that some people are making is when Steven Soderbergh, pulled off the upset for Traffic over Anne Lee for Crouch Tiger and Dragon.
Yep.
Steven Soderbergh won Critics' Choice.
Yep.
This was a complete sweep. There were no ties. Director Cody Derrick said it best. The director usually doesn't give us surprises. Bong Joon-ho was just kind of one of those once in a lifetime things. But like I said, in some Twitter banner, Ryan Coogler is not Bong Joon-ho, and Sinners is not Parasite. It's not the same. It's not the same, comparison by any means. And, I'm sorry. I know that there's certain people who are still holding out hope for Coogler, but I'm sorry. It's not happening. And now, oh, go ahead, Matthew.
Well, I also want to say again, we have one more category to get to, and I'll try to be brief with this, but I do think we will get a black filmmaker down the road winning director, but I think it's got to be for a film. Yes, Sinners is a technical achievement, but it's up against One Battle After Another, which is a more giant juggernaut of a movie. And again, he has this overdue narrative. He's never won an Oscar. If Paul Thomas Anderson had won before with like Licorice Pizza or There Will Be Blood, then I think we'd have like a more contained conversation or more detailed conversation about what could happen. But yeah, it's going to be a bit, and who knows, it might have to take another, maybe we have to nominate another black filmmaker again, like Spike Lee or Barry Jenkins again. And maybe that's how they get their director win. Who knows? Yeah, but we will get one down the road.
Definitely. And now the big one, Best Picture. Nominees are Begonia, F1, which Matthew called to get nominated.
Sorry, Chris.
Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. And I think we all have been alluding to this throughout the segment, but I know that there's some talk of a Sinners surge, and it may get a good amount of votes, but I just do not think it'll be enough to take down One Battle After Another.
Oh, I think F1's going to win the Oscar. It's going to win everything. No. No. It's One Battle After Another. I want to credit Joey Magnuson from Awards Radar, where I do think Sinners will overperform a lot better than people were expecting, but it'll just be shy of a Best Picture win. Whereas I think One Battle After Another will underperform on some wins, but still win the Best Picture prize. That's where my head is at right now with these wins overall. And I also think it's because of the fact that we had the Warner Brothers merger going on, and these are literally going to be like unfortunately, the last of what we see of the old Warner Brothers era before they get bought out by another studio, whether it's Netflix or Paramount or whoever it is. Maybe Pureflix buys them out. I don't know. But yeah, I just think that I think that's also part of the reason why both of these films are just going to be the big award winners on the night of. I would be really shocked if any of these other Best Picture nominees won more than what Sinners and One Battle win, on their own or combined.
Yeah. Chris?
For anyone predicting Sinners, and there's actually a lot of people.
Yes, there are.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pose this question to you. Do you think the old guards at the Academy that miraculously got F1 in Best Picture are going to rank Sinners number 1 or 2?
Thank you.
Just think about that.
Yeah.
Aside from that, One Battle has everything. Literally everything. From every single precursor industry guild. Sean Penn, even he has a SAG win. So
something that Brokeback Mountain could even win, by the way. Like, it couldn't even win in any of the individual categories either. And it lost to Crash for the ensemble prize.
Right. But I don't know the actual tallies of all the other guilds, but I think One Battle. I just think it's just from what I have right now, I have One Battle winning 6 and Sinners winning 5.
Okay.
But of course, up to Best Picture, both of them will have 5.
Yeah.
But One Battle has the spread. I don't think Sinners does. That's it.
Also, I think someone had mentioned somewhere that if you win director, screenplay, editing, cinematography, that's usually a pretty good combo to win Best Picture. I mean, again, even the cinematography writing thing alone, it's like that usually wins Best Picture. American Beauty did it, Birdman did it, Slumdog. There's a couple others I'm probably forgetting, but yeah, I really do think, just one battle after another winning this. And like even when I saw the movie and I saw Sean Penn walk out of his car and he sees the riots going on in Beckton Cross, I just thought, guys, this is over. Everyone go home. Shut up. Like, it's not winning, because it's the kind of film. I also think too that a very cynical part of me also thought about this the other day, and I don't know if I share this with Jack or not, but when they give out Best Picture winners to these kind of movies, it's almost like they're congratulating themselves in the back and like, congratulations, we gave like the sex worker movie Best Picture, Honora. Congratulations, we gave the first LGBT film Best Picture with Moonlight. All these things. And to add on to the whole Sinners thing, for people predicting that, momentum works when you're voting against something. The Moonlight La La Land year. People did not like La La Land, and they didn't want that to win the Best Picture prize, so they voted for Moonlight instead. The 1917 Parasite year, people in the Academy, especially the actors branch, probably just did not want 1917 to win Best Picture. So they just said, all right, well, let's go for Parasite, because that's surging at the right time at the right place. Even Coda and Power the Dog. Power the Dog was a very divisive movie, and it lost picture to Coda. And hell, even these kind of splits, like picture and director splits, happen. They usually happen when they're different studios. We've never had a split from the same studio ever. Like, by predicting Sinners to win picture and director for One Battle, you are predicting an impossible situation, something that's never happened before ever in the entire history of the 98 Academy Awards ever to have done it. It's not, I just don't see the path. And PGA, that was to me the death nail for Sinners. Like, it couldn't win on a preferential ballot. Maybe the voting is close, but did you also think about for people looking at the anonymous ballots and you're looking at it very carefully and you're determining how you're predicting picture? Did you ever think about the fact that not only did F1 get into Best Picture, but how the anonymous ballots are being counted out for like what's winning the most in terms of like top, placements for these voters? Maybe that's how PGA voting was, where it's like people were voting with that mindset of like, I don't know which to go for, Sinners or One Battle. And this could just be a complete repeat of that, where it's like, maybe this is just deja vu all over again, where it's like, this is exactly what the PGA voters were thinking in the time. And this is exactly what the Oscar voters are thinking too, where it's like, who do I want to give picture to? Um, and I think even Jack said, Tarek, when he did a SAG poll, that the SAG Ensemble Prize was pretty close in votes, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
between One Battle and Sinners.
Yes.
So Sinners probably just barely eked it out at the end with like 2-3 votes at the end. But yeah, I just feel like in the only way I would have seen Sinners this whole season win Best Picture is if it weren't competing against One Battle. Because as someone who's been doubting Sinners the whole season since June when I saw it, I just thought to myself, I just don't see the path for Sinners winning picture and director, because I feel like there's something else coming out later in the year that's going to do it. And I have the same feeling I did with Elvis, with Austin Butler. I'm like, I just don't really see him winning this Oscar, because I feel like something in the fall is going to come out and it's going to just literally deflate that balloon of tension, and the other person's going to win it. And that's what happened. So yeah, I feel like it's one battle after another. I don't need to overthink this. If you want to predict your predictions for fun, that's one thing, but it feels like to me some of these people are predicting it because of the gut reactions they're feeling and momentum, and I'm like, that's not enough. Like, where are the red flags for one battle after another? There are none. Unless you want to count the sound guilds, which even then it's like, okay, Shape of Water didn't win either, and it's still one picture. So
I will concede that maybe Sinners gets more number one votes than One Battle After Another. I don't think either will crack like the 51% mark or whatever the ruling is. I will concede that maybe Sinners will get more number one votes, which is why I have it winning a lot of acting and other categories, because I think it will just get more of those number one votes where you just have to check off one.
yeah,
But I don't think I don't think most people are going to rank One Battle lower than, say, 3 or 4.
yeah,
Agreed.
And I think also a lot of people that are predicting a split should keep in mind we haven't had a split in a while outside of Coda, which a lot of people kind of like were hinting at. Outside of Coda, anytime we had a shock in Best Picture or Best Director, they all came together. Anora, one director. Paris, one director. Everything Everywhere All at Once, one picture, whatever. Shape of Water, one picture. We haven't had. This would just be. I don't believe the vote is that close that it would garner a split. I also don't think that it. I think in order for a split to happen, it has to be very, very obvious, and I don't think it is this year.
like the Green Book and Roma year.
This be a weird year if there was a split. Personally, given I would be shocked if Sinners won Best Picture, but I guess I would have to be shocked it won something else early on in the night first for me to entertain that option. So
Yeah. So you guys pretty much said it all. But the last thing I will add that I think is very interesting, and why, excuse me, why I do think One Battle is gonna come out victorious, is I was reading in excuse me, I'm so sorry, guys. The New York Times, Kyle Buchanan, he reported that almost everyone that's voting for One Battle After Another is voting for Paul Thomas Anderson to win director. There are a lot of people that are voting for Sinners number one, but still voting for Paul Thomas Anderson to win Best Director. Honestly, I think that, the package deal between PTA and director and One Battle and Best Picture, I think it's just, as you said, Matthew, no red flags. There hasn't been anything. Even 1917, couldn't compete in acting. It was never competitive to win writing. One Battle
It's
After
the
Another
editing nomination too.
Yeah, One Battle After Another did absolutely everything that it needed to do this season, and I just don't see a reason to bet against it. There's just nothing in front of me that's making me go, One Battle After Another is going to fall short of this.
I also want to bring up PGA again. two other things I want to bring up. I do think the SAG Ensemble Prize for Sinners just barely eking it out. Going forward, I think we have to use that more as a sign of what casting might be, as opposed to what's going to win Best Picture. Now that the casting Oscar is there, we'll have to see how that turns out in the next 5 years. But the PGA prize, the Guild has predicted like that. During the preferential balloting system, PGA has gotten every single winner right on the Oscar night, except for 3 films: The Big Short, La La Land, and 1917. That's it. Coda won. Oppenheimer won. Like, that was a grand sweep. But like all these other films, Birdman even did it. And funny enough, the last American film to win the César Award for International Film was Birdman, which was also touted as it's the director's time for the trifecta prizes with picture, director, screenplay. Like, and as Chris even brought up, like, One Battle After Another did lose ensemble and lost all the other categories, but it still won something as opposed to nothing, which Brokeback Mountain couldn't do. And I just like, where are the legit red flags? Because I know people were also comparing One Battle After Another to that of Traffic, and I'm like, yeah, but again, that was a tie for Critics' Choice, and Gladiator, like, at the end of the day, Gladiator still won everything else. It's won everything that One Battle did, except for Directors Guild, which Gladiator lost to. But I just don't see where are the actual signs for me to predict picture. I get it, Jordan is going to win lead actor, but as I said, you don't have to be the number one film to win. You win lead actor, that you're automatically given the Best Picture prize, because The Brutalist didn't do it either. And same with who was it? Like, what was like another film we had lately? Joker was another one that was like, it was a grand sweep. Even Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, that didn't even do a clean sweep, and The Favorite with Olivia Colman, and yet Green Book still won picture. So I just don't see the comparisons at all, and I think One Battle After Another has this.
Agreed. Well, with that, I want to thank Matthew, Chris. I want to thank you for joining me for this. Any final thoughts? Anything that you didn't mention in any of the other categories that you want to mention before we conclude the segment?
Chris, you got anything to say?
Conan O'Brien, he's literally what makes the Oscars watchable.
I agree with you there. Yeah,
he's been one of the he was last year. He was one of the better hosts we had in quite a long time.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I'm looking through my notes to see if there's anything else that we didn't bring up, but yeah, I'm just at least excited that Paul Thomas Anderson is going to win Best Director and Adapted Screenplay. And on the night of, I'll be 10 years in a row getting Adapted Screenplay right. I've gotten every year on the night of, I got that category right since Moonlight. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, well, I'm just happy that Paul's winning 2 Oscars at least. So that would be cool.
You and me both. So, well, that being said, the Oscar telecast will be on Sunday, and I'm sure one of us will get the most predictions right in whatever contest that we decide to enter into, whether it be Gold Derby's contest or somewhere else. I'm going to be submitting my Oscar predictions tomorrow, and the company I work for, BMI, they are having an Oscar pool contest, and it's kind of like you guys just do it specifically for me, because almost no one else is really invested at work, is really invested in the Oscars as I am. But anyway, well, with that being said, once again, Matt, Chris, thanks for joining me, and good night.
Good night.